He turned away. Jimin leaves Jungkook alone at the airport. What really happened? Without a single glance back, Jimin vanished through the gates of Gimpo International Airport, alone, silent, and uncaring. And Jungkook? He stood behind, his figure fixed in place, unnoticed by fans, cameras, or even the man he once called brother. The world asks why. Why did Jimin walk away from Jungkook that morning without a word, a wave, or even the faintest acknowledgement? Was this an act of personal resolve, artistic solitude, or something far more intimate and far more fractured? The morning air at Gimpo carried more than humidity. It carried tension. Jimin, known for his warm gestures, once greeted even the smallest crowd with bows and heartfelt smiles. This time, he wore a mask, both literally and metaphorically. Dressed in gray hues with a long black coat, he cut through the terminal like a shadow, quiet, fast, and deliberate. There was no entourage, no security, and most glaringly, no Jungkook beside him. This, to the public eye, wasn't merely a departure. It was a statement. The silence was louder than any press release. It screamed of distance, of boundaries freshly drawn, of something broken. Only days earlier, the two members were seen exchanging laughs during a private recording session in Seoul. How could things shift so drastically and so publicly? And why now? Industry insiders are scrambling for answers, but so far, what they offer is speculation at best. Some suggest Jimin is heading to Los Angeles for a final solo project before BTS's full group return in 2026. Others whisper of internal tension, possibly rooted in creative disagreements, strategic differences, or a clash in timelines. But none of that explains the rawness of that moment. The way Jungkook watched him leave, unacknowledged, left behind not just by a fellow artist, but by someone who once claimed he would always have his back. Fans quickly took to social media, their excitement about potential new music colliding violently with confusion and concern. Did you see how he walked past him? Like he didn't exist. One comment read, accompanied by a still image, Jimin's shoulder disappearing into the terminal, Jungkook's eyes following in silence. Another user wrote, "There's something not right here. This isn't just about a flight." What makes this more unsettling is the familiarity of the pattern. Jimin has done this before. Before Set Me Free PT2 dropped in 2023, he left the country under similar secrecy, only to unleash a song that reflected years of internal chaos. But that time, there was no Jungkook waiting behind him. There were no questions about betrayal or abandonment. This time, the context is different. The silence is heavier. Jimin's actions are difficult to decode, but one thing is clear. This was intentional. The absence of eye contact, the refusal to speak, the speed of his exit. Every movement was curated to avoid connection. And yet, connection, or the severing of it, is exactly what this moment created. Jungkook didn't chase him. He didn't call out. He didn't even attempt to bridge the distance. He simply watched. What happened between them? According to a source close to the production team working with both artists earlier this summer, there were moments of tension during joint studio sessions. They're both perfectionists, but they're moving in different directions, the source noted. Jimin's becoming more internal, almost monastic. Jungkook still thrives in collaboration. That friction is inevitable. But would creative divergence alone cause Jimin to ignore him so completely, especially in a space as emotionally charged as an airport, often the stage of tearful farewells, hugs, waves, and promises? If this was strictly professional, the behavior would not feel so deeply personal. Several theories now dominate the digital discourse. One suggests that Jimin and Jungkook had a falling out after a disagreement over timing and promotional strategy. Jungkook, whose own solo project launched earlier this year with a global promotional blitz, may have unintentionally overshadowed Jimin's more understated creative process. In a world where visibility means power, that imbalance could have been taken as a betrayal, Another theory touches on emotional exhaustion. Jimin has spoken in past interviews about the airport being a space of overwhelming pressure, a breeding ground of anxiety, where every gesture is scrutinized. Could his avoidance be an act of preservation? If so, why was Jungkook caught in its crossfire? What remains consistent in every thread of speculation is this: Jimin didn't forget to acknowledge Jungkook. He chose not to, and the industry is watching. Jimin's solo work has already been recognized as emotionally rich and boundary-pushing. His 2023 album Face shattered expectations, not because it was loud or explosive, but because it was deeply vulnerable. It stripped away the idol sheen and revealed something human and bruised. If his current trip is to complete a final solo offering before group activities resume, we can expect the music to carry the weight of this moment, of departure, of isolation, perhaps of conflict that makes what happened at the airport more than just a personal rift. It becomes part of the artistic narrative, an extension of Jimin's internal world, which he's chosen to reveal only through sound, not speech. No Instagram post, no press quote, no damage control, just silence. Meanwhile, Jungkook has yet to speak. His social platforms remain unchanged, his public appearances unaltered. But his expression at Gimpo said enough. It was not anger, it was not surprise, it was resignation. As if this, too, had been building for some time, observers are now pointing to a growing pattern within BTS's current chapter: individualism. As members pursue solo careers before regrouping, their artistic identities have begun to evolve in ways that might not always align. With the group reunion expected in 2026, this solo era is more than a creative window, it's a defining moment. For Jimin, it seems that means detaching from everything that distracts, even if that includes Jungkook. This doesn't mean a permanent rupture, but it does suggest a current fracture, an emotional boundary drawn not out of spite, but necessity. And that's what makes it more heartbreaking. Still, no one can deny the symbolic power of what occurred. Two artists who once shared stages, rooms, laughter, now caught in a frame where one walks forward and the other is left behind. Not forgotten, but excluded. And in a fandom built on connection, that image cuts deep. It's also telling that no official statements have been released. The silence is deliberate. It forces observers to focus not on words, but on actions and inaction. No words can soften the stark visual of Jimin's departure. No clarification can undo what the world saw, a silent split, however temporary or strategic it may be. There is precedent for this kind of controlled distance in the music industry. Solitude can be a powerful tool for reinvention, and Jimin is, by all accounts, in the middle of such a reinvention. One that may require detaching from the past to create something new, something honest. But the cost of that honesty, in this case, appears to be closeness. What Jimin is preparing abroad remains unknown, but multiple signs point to a significant project in the works. Reports of recording sessions in Los Angeles, cryptic posts from well-known audio engineers, a subtle but consistent withdrawal from social platforms. It all builds toward a launch that, while quiet in approach, could be seismic in impact. And yet, none of that overshadows what happened at the airport. Because even in an industry driven by spectacle, it's the moments of quiet estrangement that stay with us. That single, decisive step Jimin took, not toward a plane but away from Jungkook, has become a symbol. Not of betrayal, not even of bitterness, but of a threshold crossed. And once crossed, it's rarely reversed. As the fandom waits for what comes next, be it a music video, a single, or an album. One question remains louder than any announcement. Why did Jimin turn away? And until that answer arrives, every silence, every frame, every song will be examined for clues. Because now, this is no longer just about a departure. It's about what was left behind. And who. The image remains indelible. Jimin walking away, Jungkook standing still. The symbolism is heavy, the silence deafening. But amidst the emotion and the speculation, a more pressing question arises. Was any of this even real? As this incident spreads rapidly across digital platforms and fuels emotionally charged debates within global fandoms, a critical examination becomes not only appropriate but necessary. Is this moment a raw, unscripted fracture in one of the most closely followed artistic relationships in the world? Or is it an orchestrated spectacle designed to manipulate attention, provoke discussion, and amplify public engagement? In the hyper-digitalized media ecosystem of today, where content is consumed, dissected, and reinterpreted within seconds, truth is often the first casualty. Footage from TikTok, cropped Twitter videos, unverified eyewitness accounts, and speculative YouTube commentaries have become the primary sources shaping public perception of what transpired at Gimpo International Airport. But can we, in good conscience, accept these fragments as evidence? Or are we complicit in constructing a narrative that may, in reality, be devoid of factual foundation? Consider the visual data circulating online. The video frames are brief, silent, and taken from angles that obscure key contextual elements. The photos provide no temporal continuity, no before, no after. Only isolated moments interpreted through the lens of assumption. There is no audio to confirm any spoken exchange. There is no confirmation of the actual proximity between Jimin and Jungkook at the time of departure. And yet, the public response has been absolute in its conclusions. Jimin left, and Jungkook was left. But ask yourself, did you see them arrive together? Did you hear any interaction? Or have you simply accepted a storyline that has already been pre-written by social media virality? This leads to a broader question. To what extent are we, as audiences, participants in our own deception? Do we demand truth? Or do we consume controversy for entertainment under the guise of concern? The virality of this incident suggests a deep-seated hunger not merely for music or artistry, but for disruption, emotional rupture, interpersonal tension, perceived betrayal. But is this ethical? Is it even real? In an age where engagement equates to currency, even silence becomes a form of communication, and every gesture is open to commodification. Could this incident have been shaped, subtly or explicitly, as part of a strategic publicity maneuver? If so, who benefits from this narrative? The artists? The media outlets? The fan economy? We must also acknowledge the historical behavior of the industry. Manufactured tensions, orchestrated disappearances, and unconfirmed leaks have long been tools for generating buzz. Could the current narrative surrounding Jimin's departure be following a similar template? If this moment is part of a calculated release strategy meant to build emotional anticipation ahead of an upcoming project, should we not feel a sense of unease about our role in its amplification? Conversely, if this moment is authentic, if it is indeed a reflection of an unresolved interpersonal fracture, should we not consider the ethical implications of our intrusion? What right do we, as spectators, have to dissect a private moment between two individuals, regardless of their public status? Is our emotional investment enough to justify the pressure we exert on real people living under the lens of constant surveillance? More crucially, how do we determine what is true in a media landscape where disinformation spreads faster than fact, and where emotional resonance is often prioritized over verifiable accuracy? We pose the following questions to you, the reader, the viewer, the participant in this unfolding drama. What if this moment was never meant for us? What if the entire narrative was built on a misinterpretation, or worse, a deliberate manipulation? Would we still feel justified in our outrage, our sorrow, our allegiance to one party over another? What does it say about our collective media literacy when a single image can override context, nuance, and truth? Do we believe in the event because it is real, or because we want it to be real? These are not rhetorical questions. They demand deliberate consideration. While it is undeniable that the event has generated massive public interest, it is equally undeniable that much of this interest is predicated on incomplete and unverified information. The sources that have shaped the dominant narrative, fan-recorded videos, translated captions, anonymous social media posts, have not undergone journalistic scrutiny, and yet they have been accepted as authoritative. Shouldn't that concern us? Moreover, the emotional reactions being produced and reproduced across platforms are not occurring in isolation. They are feeding a system. Every share, every comment, every speculative thread fuels algorithms that reward heightened engagement. This system does not value accuracy. It values intensity. It does not seek to inform. It seeks to sustain itself. As such, the responsibility lies with us, not only to consume with care, but to question with rigor. What is the source of this information? What is the intent behind its dissemination? Who stands to gain from your belief, your outrage, your tears? In this moment, we urge you not to simply react, but to reflect. Perhaps the airport incident was real. Perhaps Jimin did leave Jungkook behind in a moment of decisive emotional detachment. Perhaps their creative paths have diverged beyond reconciliation. But perhaps not, and until verifiable information surfaces, until direct statements are made, until full context is provided, no interpretation should be accepted as absolute. Skepticism is not cynicism. It is a form of intellectual and ethical integrity.